وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. سبحانك لا نحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك. أنت المقدم وأنت المؤخر وأنت على كل شيء قدير. In the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most compassionate, the most merciful, all praise and thanks are due to him, and peace and blessings be upon his beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He who is guided by the will of Allah, no one can misguide him, and he who is misguided, no one can guide him except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ramadan Mubarak for all of you inshallah, and Eid Mubarak inshallah, may Allah accept your deeds. Today is part number 11 or episode 11 from the rightly guided Khalifs in the main series of As-Sirah. Since about 10 sessions we are talking about Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu as the first rightly guided Khalif radiallahu anhu wa radiallahu anhu as-Sahaba ajma'in wa sallallahu ala muallim al-bashariyya Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. After the passing of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Sahaba, they elected, in our terminology, Abu Bakr to be their leader. So we had a very thorough idea about who was Abu Bakr from the even before Islam, so that we can just realize what could be the wisdom for the fact that Allah has chosen Abu Bakr to be this person and a consensus of acceptance for him to be the second one. We had an idea about him, how he was from the Hunafa, he was searching for the truth, he had an idea about the coming of a prophet, he was not able to determine which, he never thought that he is close friend, and he met Bahir al-Rahib, he had a discussion with Waraq bin Nawfal. He was a very highly prestigious person among the people of Mecca. He was highly accepted. He was holding many political status on top of them. I'm just refreshing your memory now. He was in charge of the blood money, what we call it diya. When someone, if someone is killed from the Meccans, or a Meccan kills someone, he was in charge of bringing justice and solving the problem and pulling the fuse of the explosion between the Arabs. And he was a very rich person. He was a very well-known and well-trusted merchant among Mecca. Subhanallah. Plus his knowledge, plus his expectations for the coming of the Prophet. Many people, they don't know this because he heard about it, and the vision that he saw while he was traveling into Levant, to Bilad al-Sham, when he met Bahir al-Rahib, and he saw a vision. The riwayah did not tell us what was the vision, but we've been told what was the explanation of the ru'ya or the dream by Bahir al-Rahib. قال من أي الأقوام أنت, for which Arabs you are from? He said from Quraysh. He said, if you are telling me the truth, you are not lying, you are not fabricating, you are not faking this, he said, your dream means that someone from your people will be sent as a prophet, and you will be his direct close assistant. So he saw a dream indicating what he will be in exactly, subhanallah. Anyway, we had an idea about him when he became a caliph, how he was dealing with the people, how did he khutbah, Saqifat Bani Sa'ida. We covered all of these things. Today, inshallah, we will go to what should have been done from the very beginning, which is the most important political and security-based event that should have been done by Prophet Muhammad was to send the army of Usama to fight the Romans. Jaish Usama. Prophet Muhammad he prepared an army, and he put the leader of the army, Usama ibn Zayd radiallahu anhu, 2 days before his last moment. So they were preparing, and they were in an area, armies, they are not prepared inside the city. They have like special location outside in the suburbs of the city. So 2 days before that, he just prepared them to launch. Then Prophet Muhammad went into the very difficult, situation. So, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Now, because we will discuss what happened, what was the reaction after he became a Khalifa. Okay, shall we proceed in what Muhammad has initiated, or we cancel, because once the news of the passing of Muhammad sallallahu was spread, a good number of Arab tribes, they committed apostasy, ridda. So we have a lot of beautiful lessons from this, because it is a religious, faith-based, and political and security-based issues all mixed together. It's not just one aspect. What should be done? This or that, and why? We have a very, very insightful and informative, important information to know from this. But let me just tell you something. The army of Osama was prepared to be sent to face the Romans. Now, this is related to what is so-called in the academia circles, the invasion or the occupation or the attack or the of Muslims for other countries. You need to know the following. We need to know. Muslims from the very beginning, actually, Islam is based on justice and promotes peace on the base of justice. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did not attack or Muslims anyone. And many people, they don't know that one of the main reasons, because in our history we need to know, before Jaysh Osama there was something called Tabuk and something called Mu'tah. Without realizing this, you can't realize this. Now, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, as a prophet, part of his duty, he was sending messages, calling, like any diplomatic relations, like sending an email now, okay, a message. And a lot of leaders, many of them, they did not accept Islam, but they were polite from diplomatic point of view. However, the representative of Heraclius in Levant, he killed the ambassador of Muhammad ﷺ. And by the way, worldwide from the early history, ambassadors should not be touched or killed, even between two enemies. This is like a well-known rule and policy. Ambassadors are not touched even between the two fighting enemies. They don't kill ambassadors, because this is like a urf, okay, custom, or otherwise they can't communicate. So at the very beginning, Prophet Muhammad just sent a message. So the representative of Heraclius, he killed the messenger of Muhammad ﷺ. Which means, killing a messenger means what? Declaring a war. Because many people say, you Muslims, you were sitting at Medina, why you attacked people in Levant? No one attacked Habibi. But sorry, Mr. Speaker, you are ignorant in history. It's your problem, not mine. Our ambassador was killed, which means declaring war. It's as if they were looking down. Who are you to come to speak with Heraclius and to call him first? Okay, simply you can reject it, and with full respect. And this is what happened with Al-Muqawqas. Al-Muqawqas, he was very nice, from Egypt, The governor of Egypt at that time, he did not accept Islam, but he was what? Diplomatically and politically, he was a genius. He welcomed, he was an excellent host. He sent a lot of gifts to Muhammad ﷺ. He did not accept Islam, but he replied in a very nice way. No one attacked him. Anyway, but before talk about Ba'ath Osama, because Ba'ath Osama, it was against the most important, most powerful power on earth at that time. Romans in our language now, Europeans. And it was not just Europeans, it's Christian European, okay? With their alliance from the Arab Christians, which is, Al-Ghassasina. Because we have Al-Ghassasina and Al-Manadhira. Al-Manadhira, they were supporting the Persians. Al-Ghassasina, they were supporting, both of them are Christians, Arab Christians. This gives you an idea, by the way. Nationalism is just a big fake lie. Because Ghassasina and Manadhira, both of them are Arabs. If nationalism or Al-Qawmiyya is something solid, they should be supporting who? Arabs. People of Makkah are Arabs, Ghassasina Arabs, Manadhira Arabs. Ghassasina and Manadhira, they were Christians. But the Ghassasina, they were supporting the Romans, the A'ajim, against the Arabs. So the ties of religion is much more powerful than the ties of the blood, by the way. Which is, by the way, I'm not against this, but I'm just telling those who keep lying by claiming otherwise. Nationalism was, what gathers us is, al-watan or al-qawmiyya. This is not true from the early. If this is true, Ghassasina should be fighting Romans, supporting Arabs, regardless of their religion. Because Ghassasina, they were against Arabs when they were pagans and against Arabs when they became Muslims. Because they were Christians. Which I understand it, because their religion is much more valuable than their blood relation. But this is like a reply for the Arab nationalists who claim that, al-qawmiyya al-arabiyya. No. This is just a big fake lie. Anyway, but what happened? He was killed by the representative of the Romans. So Prophet Muhammad, because of that happened, the Battle of Mu'tah. And Battle of Mu'tah, 200,000. 100,000 Ghassasina, 100,000 Europeans against 4,000 of Khalid bin Walid, and the story, they were just 4,000. Khalid bin Walid managed to drag them into a very narrow area. He forced them to fight him in a very narrow area, because 4,000 versus 200,000, if they are in an open battle, it's impossible, except with a miracle. When he pushed them to a narrow area, he was able to fight with 10s against 10s. The other 10s, they were behind. They can do nothing. So he managed to stand for a very good time. To a degree, he was able, after fighting for a good time, to withdraw without having mass destruction, which in itself, relatively speaking, a big victory. Now, and Ja'far bin Abi Talib, he was killed. He became a martyr. Abdullah bin Rawaha, and at that time Khalid bin Walid took. We know this. Mu'tah. After that, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he heard that the Romans, they are preparing to attack. Immediately, what he did, Ghazwat Tabuk. This is called Ghazwat al-Usra. The battle which happened in the very difficult time. No rain, no fruits, no money, very hot, a little of supplies, and it was really, in our economic, let's say, terminology, it was a disaster. And at that time, by the way, there's a very beautiful story, and maybe at a certain time you will come to it, inshallah, in the tafsir, which is قصة توبة كعب بن مالك وصاحبيه. قصة توبة كعب بن مالك. It is related to Ghazwat Tabuk. Anyway, so Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he prepared an army of about, if I'm not mistaken, 30,000 plus. Some narrations 36,000. One of the biggest armies. Look, he heard they were preparing to attack. He immediately launched a big army, and he encouraged everyone to go with this army. So they traveled, they reached to Tabuk. We know Tabuk now, the north of Saudi Arabia, which is very close to the south of Jordan. The Romans, they just escaped. They did not meet them. So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam قال نصرت بالرعب مسيرة شهر. Said, I was granted victory from a distance of 1 month by fear. This is the second time. Now, before his death, he was preparing, because they heard a third coalition and preparation for Muslims to be attacked by the Romans. So he prepared, Jaysh Usama. This is the context. Why the Romans? Because they were the most powerful at that time. And this gives you an idea how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from diplomatic, political, and let's say security, you are talking about 1,300 kilometers from them. It's, we are talking about walking and riding distance. It's a huge distance. But he was able to realize that this big power, if they look down at us, we are finished. Anyway, so this is the context. He was preparing the third one, he passed away, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Let's delve now into the context in light of this, because we are talking about the Romans. Now, Dr. Ali As-Sallabi says, قال كانت الدولة الرومانية إحدى الدولتين المجاورتين للجزيرة العربية في عهد النبي، وكانت تحتل أجزاء كبيرة من شمال الجزيرة، وكان أمراء تلك المناطق يعينون من قبل الدولة الرومانية وينصاعون لأوامرها. He was explaining how the Romans, they were nearly controlling the part of the north of Arabic Peninsula. And all the princes or the leaders of the tribes, they were appointed by the Romans, which means they were enslaved by them. And then, Roman Empire, they were controlling what we know now as Eastern Europe, Turkey, part of all of Levant, what you know as Levant, what we know now as Syria, Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Jordan, North Arabic Peninsula, or North Saudi Arabia, and north of Egypt, Sinai, north of Egypt, Tunisia, Libya, all, which means nearly 80% of the Mediterranean, it was called, it was Al-Buhayra Al-Rumiyya, or Buhayrat Al-Ruman. It's the lake of the Romans. The Mediterranean, it was nearly controlled completely by the Romans. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. فhe was talking now, he is explaining how they were controlling Arabs in the north. قال بعث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الدعاة والبعوث إلى تلك المناطق وأرسل دحية الكلبي بكتاب إلى هرقل يدعوه إلى الإسلام لكنه عاند وأخذته العزة بالإثم. He was explaining what I have just explained now and partly now. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. قال اللهم صل قال فأرسل في العام الثامن للهجرة جيشا واشتبك مع نصارى العرب والروم في مؤتة واستشهد قادة الجيش على التوالي ذكر أسماءهم. وفي العام التاسع خرج رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم جيش عظيم ووصل إلى تبوك ولم يشتبك مع جيش الروم ولا القبائل وآثر حكام المدن الصلح على الجزية وعاد الجيش إلى المدينة. This is what I have just explained now. Now here comes what we need. في العام الحادي عشر, in the year 11, which is the year of the passing of Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم, قال ندب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الناس لغزو الروم بالبلقاء وفلسطين. Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم, he encouraged the people to prepare themselves, because by the way, you need to know something. At that time there were not an organized army. There was no state with an organized army with a budget. When they want to defend themselves or to attack their enemies, they start calling the people, prepare yourself for fight. So everyone will come with his camel, with his she-camel, with his horse, with his horses, with his sword, with his spear, with his shield, whatever he owns, or if he had extra, he brings to the others. And it's his, let's say, responsibility to bring his food and his water. You just call the people, they gather because they want to defend themselves. So there was nothing such as what we know, a budget or a defense ministry or a war ministry, nothing at all. Just keep calling the people, we want to defend ourselves against the Romans, so gather yourself, we will leave, let's say, after 10 days. The people, they start gathering, bringing their food, securing their families, bringing whatever they can do, and then at a certain time, the army starts to move. This is the meaning of ندب النبي الناس للخروج. He encouraged them to come, because it was not like a specific appointed job with salaries. No, it's from one angle as if it's a voluntary word, because technically Prophet Muhammad cannot force anyone to come. But defending your religion and your country and your honor is an obligation in Islam. And if you are able and you don't do it, it will be one of the sins. طيب. قال this is the meaning of ندب الناس لغزو الروم, to go and attack the Romans in the area of Balqa or Palestine. The area of Balqa now, it's part which it's very close to the suburbs of Amman now, and part of Palestine, which is in the middle of Jordan. Now, the area of Balqa, but it was much more bigger than what we know now. But it's like the middle of Jordan and Palestine. قال اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وفلسطين وفيها كبار المهاجرين والأنصار وأمر عليهم أسامة بن زيد. From the most prestigious, elderly, high-ranked Sahaba from Muhajirin and Ansar, they were in this army, and he put Amir Usama bin Zayd radiyallahu anhu. طبعا Usama, he was around 18 years at that time, just, which is, in light of people in general, جيش Umar al-Khattab, he was there. Can you imagine? If someone is just 18 years old and he's in charge of the army, it was not something easy, but it's Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam who decided. So all of them سمعا وطاعة حاضر يا رسول الله, and that's it. طيب. قال الحافظ بن حجر, الحافظ بن حجر, he is الحافظ بن حجر, he is the very well-known عالم, who's called Amir al-Mu'minin في الحديث, who explained the very famous explanation of Sahih al-Bukhari, which is فتح الباري في شرح صحيح البخاري. فقال الحافظ بن حجر: جاء أنه كان تجهيز جيش أسامة يوم السبت قبل موت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بيومين. The final preparation, which means just خلاص, yeah, they will just launch it 2 days before the passing of Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. قال: وكان ابتداء ذلك قبل مرض النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. You know, the beginning of the preparation before he became starting have this kind of health problem, but he was nearly just 2 days before the launching and the start of the enemy. حبيبي مين والده? Where's your father حبيبي? Where's Baba? Can you stay there معلش? This is the last thing I need.
That's why I closed the doors, because he just keep on going in between doors.
I lose control completely. If something is moving, I completely lose my focus. If I may, if he came again, can you speak with his father, معلش? جزاك الله خير. If he came, جزاك الله خير. اللهم صل على سيدنا. قال Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now Al-Hafidh Hajar is narrating what Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to Usama bin Zayd, and you know, just a pause. Usama bin Zayd, Zayd bin Muhammad or Zayd bin Haritha. His father is the most beloved to the heart of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he used to call him Al-Hibbu ibn al-Hibb, the most beloved, the son of the most beloved. And you know, Usama bin Zayd, Zayd bin Haritha, he was kidnapped at the Jahiliyyah, and he was sold as a slave to Khadija. Look, before the prophethood, Khadija gave him as a gift to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, her husband. Then Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam adapted him because it was well known among the Arabs. They started calling him Usama Zayd bin Muhammad. And this amazing story. So Zayd bin Muhammad was very close to him, and he loved him very much and respected him very much. When he became like a young man, out of a sudden, his father and his uncle, they found him in Mecca. They were looking, you know, in the Arabic Peninsula, because, you know, Arabs, they used to do this kind of sudden attacks with ghazu, and when they sudden attack, they killed him in, and they took hostages and war prisoners, you know, kids and women, and they sell them. This is what the culture of the people on earth, by the way, not just for Arabs. Romans, Persians, Indians, Christians, Jews, Indians, wherever you go, they used to have wars. They attack each other. They take the children, they sell them, they enslave them. He was enslaved. So they were searching his father and his uncle. It happened, they found him, and he recognized them because he was not very young not to recognize. Now, the amazing, wonderful reaction. He refused to go with them. He insisted to stay with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is before Islam. Just to give you an idea about the morals and the manners and the characters of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. At the Jahiliyyah, he refused, you know, to leave. So then, subhanallah, when Islam came, and you know, hukm al-tabani, it's a long story. You know, adoption. It is allowed to us to adapt in terms of taking care, in terms of paying the money, in terms of support, but we are not allowed legally to attribute this non-biological son to yourself and to take your name, because this is what cheating and faking unreal biological son to yourself. He's not your direct. The people should not be cheated. They need to know that this is my adopted, not my biological son. This is the idea. This is when they say tabanni haram. It's not true. This tabanni haram. attributing the name and cheating the people to let them know that he is your biological son is the haram. Not the idea of taking care and paying the money and nursing or no, it's completely أنا وكافل اليتيم في الجنة كهاتين. Anyone who takes care of an orphan, he will be with me like these two fingers in the Jannah. So the idea just so he was so beloved to him, and this is his son Usama. He was just turning 18 more or less when he asked him. Look what he said, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, "Sir, إلى موضع مقتل أبيك فأوطئهم الخيل فقد وليتك هذا الجيش." He asked him in specific, be the leader, take the army, go to the location where your father was killed. This is a big indication, which means go and teach a lesson for the murderers and the killers that we don't forget our rights. There is a political message, there is a psychological message, there is a lot of messages, but this is what Al-Hafidh bin Hajar is narrating. قال وطعن بعض الناس في إمارة أسامة فرد عليهم. Look, by the way, they used to have in our terminology very nice democracy. Some of the Sahaba, they did not like the fact that Usama, this young man, is the leader. So he started, speaking with one. So the leakage of the rejection or unhappy attitude from the son reached to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam realized that this is normal. He did not say, hey, how come you will go to the hellfire, just shut up your mouth. No, he just replied, فرد عليهم رسول الله فقال إن تطعنوا في إمارته فقد طعنتم في إمارة أبيه من قبل وأيم الله إن كان لخليقا للإمارة وإن كان لمن أحب الناس إلي وإن هذا لمن أحب الناس إلي بعده. He replied in a very nice statement. He said, it's not the first time for me. You did it before against his father as well. When he was young. As the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ stating that, okay, I know that you don't like it, but simply he deserved it. I mean, as a leader, using my power from political terminology, I think he is the best. So he just, okay, I will continue. He acknowledged that he did not curse them, he did not insult them, he did not say you have no right to have this feeling, but simply he did not accept, their opinion. This is in the political, let's say, how to say, مرونة شو يعني بالإنجليزي؟ tolerance. tolerant مرونة tolerance صح؟ yes. Political tolerance. طيب. Now قال ومرض النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بعد البدء بتجهيز الجيش بيومين واشتد وجعه فلم يخرج الجيش وظل معسكرا. He just, prepared it. After the preparation, he started this very difficult, the last few days, because it took just days and he passed away صلى الله عليه وسلم. قال وكان معسكرا بمنطقة بالجرف. There is an area outside the Medina, the camp of this. قال ورجع إلى المدينة بعد وفاة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الكريم وتغيرت الأحوال مع انتقاله إلى رحمة ربي وصارت كما تصنف أم المؤمنين عائشة الصديقة بقولها لما قبض رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ارتدت العرب قاطبة. Now the author is explaining. Everything was freezed. People started, when Prophet Muhammad ﷺ passed away, some people started returning back. Are we gonna to proceed or should we come back? So there was this kind of hesitation because I keep telling you now, the Medina is like an open area. This is an open camp. The people, they were going individually. There was not like now you have this kind of Wi-Fi and this kind of telephones, this kind of commandment, this kind of special troops, okay? All of them, they go in helicopters, airplane, you have special units to sit with. You don't have these things. So, it's an open. So some people started returning back. Some of them, they want to pray the janazah on Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some of them thought by default the fact that Prophet Muhammad passed away, everything should be cancelled. So till they did what we know as Saqifat Bani Sa'ad, we explained, and they did the janazah prayer and everything, and Abu Bakr came to the masjid and he gave the khutbah that he became, and he said, all of these things. After finished, just that, then immediately the first job was Ba'ath Usama. Now Aisha is saying, she is saying, لما قبض رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ارتدت العرب قاطبة. When Muhammad ﷺ passed away, the majority of Arabs, they committed apostasy, which was really, really a very difficult time for the people of the Medina. قال واشرأب النفاق والله. شرأب, you know, it's like, it's a metaphor. Now, look, when I say, if I'm sitting like this and feel afraid from all of you, and if it happened that my people, 100 of them came from outside, and I felt that I have a big backing, and I felt happy, and I did like this. This is Ashra Bait, which means I raised up my head with power and pride, which means I don't care about you anymore. So imagine that I was afraid from you, doing like this, hiding my face. When a backing system, police power, my tribe, whatever came, this is Ashra Bait, which means I raised up, and I don't care if you see me now. Now Aisha is using this terminology to speak about hypocrites. قال واشرأب النفاق, which means hypocrites, they did not care to reveal themselves. Because you are finished Muslims. ده بعدك حبيبي. كيف نترجمها ده بعدك؟ ChatGPT. ده seriously. ده بعدك بالمصري نترجمها ازاي دكتور هاي؟ بالانجليزي؟ مع الردحة ده بعدك يا حبيبي. واشرأب النفاق, you know, hypocrites, they raised up their heads, they did not care for the fact that they are hypocrites. قال واشرأب النفاق, اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. قال والله قد نزل بي ما لو نزل بالجبال الراسيات لهاضها. Aisha, by the way, Aisha, she was Nassaba, she was an expert in the lineage like her father, Abu Bakr radiallahu anha. And she was a alima. Do you know Aisha considered from al-ulama al-mujtahideen fi al-sahaba? Do you know this? Aisha, she's considered from the top level ulama of the sahaba in terms of understanding the fiqh of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And she was an expert in Arabic language and in poems. Aisha, she's an amazing character. I urge you to read about her. Aisha is not, by the way, out of 3,300 hadith, they were narrated from 11 wives of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Aisha alone narrated 2,200 alone. 1,100 by 10 of them, 2,200 by herself alone. This gives you an idea. The job that she was doing in terms of conveying the details, you know, the ahkam, the teachings of Islam, you know, from what she witnessed and what she discussed and what she saw with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She says, قال والله نزل بي ما لو نزل بالجبال الراسيات لهاضها. Wallahi, I faced what? This is another metaphor, a very deep rhetorical language. قال والله, I faced what, in case the very strong, big rooted mountains faced, it will be broken. What will break the huge, big rooted mountains? Nuclear bomb. As if she's saying in our language, I faced a nuclear bomb in my face. In their terminology at that time, نزل بي ما لو نزل بالجبال الراسيات لهاضها. This is the meaning. قال وصار أصحاب محمد كأنهم معزى مطيرة في حش في ليلة مطيرة بأرض مسبعة. You know, the meaning, she was doing a very deep metaphor analogy. She said, the companions of Muhammad, they were like a group of very weak goats or sheep, okay, in a very dark night, very rainy, in a land full of monsters and siba', which means, you know, lions, tigers, wolves. Imagine, sheep, goats, rain, very dark, no shepherd, no protection, no security, with a land full of wolves. What will happen to them? She's explaining the moment of difficulty and confusion for everyone, because the loss of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is considered for them the biggest loss ever in their lives sallallahu alaihi wasallam. قالت اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. قال ولما تولى الخلافة الصديق, when Abu Bakr as-Siddiq became the Khalifa, قال أمر رضي الله عنه رجلا في اليوم الثالث. Look, the polite attitude. She's talking about her father. She did not say when my father became the Khalifa. You know, if this narration, this gives you an attitude, about psychological attitude. You know, when my father, the Khalifa, my father did so and so. And Abuy Aslan Wazir. You know this attitude with someone, because we are, unfortunately, if you don't have a good Islamic, someone is not taking care of how to raise his children. Any one of us, any one of our kids, if you have a status, well, أنا أبوي المدير, أنا أبوي صاحب المصنع, أنا أبوي, my father, such and such. No, she was said, لما تولى أبو بكر الصديق, as if she's just a normal citizen talking about the most important person, not taking my father. قال أمر أبو بكر رضي الله عنه. She was like any صحابي taking. قال أمر أبو بكر الصديق رضي الله عنه في اليوم الثالث من متوفى رسول الله أن ينادى في الناس. Look, اليوم الثالث means next day after the burial of Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم, because it took them 2 days to decide, because he was left there, they were discussing, what shall we do? The discussion that we had in Saqifat Bani Sa'ida. Who will win, why? Then next day he was buried. 3rd day, immediately, the first job was he commanded someone to call. It's like broadcasting in the news or putting like Mr. When he write on the Truth Social. Like putting a notes on X or on Twitter or speaking on the news. Okay. قال أمر رجلا أن ينادي. He commanded a person to call the people. قال ليتم بعث أسامة ألا لا يبيتن في المدينة أحد من جيش أسامة إلا خرج إلى عسكره. He was calling, walking in the streets of the Medina. Anyone who was asked and he decided to be part of the army of Osama to go and fight the Romans, let him leave the Medina now, go to your position in the army now. So we were calling, because it took them sometimes 1 full day, 2 days to spread the news in Medina. It's like us now, one message, WhatsApp, or just you post it on Facebook and that's it. No, it takes time to let thousands of people to know. This is what he said. قال وقام أبو بكر في الناس فحمد الله وأثنى عليه وقال أيها الناس. He gave a long khutbah. It takes hours. But what I need now, just what happened about just in specific the army. Because the khutbah is very long and it contains a lot of political lessons. It's not part of my interest now. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. But what happened is the following. Now, I want just to say, sorry, where is it? قال أيها الناس إنما أنا مثلكم وإني لا أدري لعلكم تكلفونني ما كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يطيق. He said, look, I'm a normal person like you. I'm not like Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم, but I'm doing my best. إن الله اصطفى محمدا على العالمين وعصمه من الآفات. You need to know that Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم was chosen by Allah and was, infallible. Infallible means ma'soom, which means he had a divine direct protection not to make mistakes, because he was guided by the revelation, by the wahi. قال وإنما أنا متبع ولست بمبتدع. I'm just a follower and I'm not making inventions from my own. He's referring and preparing to tell them that don't discuss with me about the decision of Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم, he knew that he will pass away. And he insisted, because when he was about to die, قال أنجزوا بعث أسامة. He kept saying, send the army of Osama. And he knew that he's passing. He did not say, in case if I passed away, have a discussion and see what is the rest. No, he said, do it. So he said, look, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was guided by the wahi, the revelation. I'm not. So I do follow and I will not invent from my own. This is part of his khutbah. Then he continued. قال فإن استقمت فبايعوني. If I was on the straight path, okay, give me the covenant and support me. وإن زغت فقوموني. If I went stray, okay, fix, you know, my path, help me. Try to fix the mistake that I'm doing. وإن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قبض وليس أحد من هذه الأمة يطلبه بمظلمة. Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم passed away while he's in the status that no one was asking any kind of right from him, which means he did not commit any kind of injustice. I think I made a mistake. Sorry, I need to I want to open the original text because it seems I missed quoting part of the text. Just give me 1 second. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. Yes, here, سبحان الله. قال اقترح بعض الصحابة على الصديق بأن يبقى الجيش فقالوا. When he started saying this, some of the Sahaba came to him and they said, يا أبا بكر, يعني we suggest that you just keep the army because فقالوا إن هؤلاء جل المسلمين والعرب على ما ترى قد انتقضت بك فليس ينبغي لك أن تفرق عنك جماعة المسلمين. The idea, a good number of the Sahaba, they were so afraid because of the apostasy of the majority of the Arabs. They committed the Ridda. They were afraid of the following fact, that if, because most of Muslims, they are in the army. Most of the fighters, they are in the army. If they left the Medina logically, and it does make sense. If they left, they will be in a very vulnerable, weak status. So any group of Arab tribes could attack them. Now, and they had back and forth a lot of discussion. Ya Abu Bakr, he insisted. They asked him, he listened to them. But at the end, قال اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وأرسل أسامة من معسكره عمر بن الخطاب إلى أبي بكر يستأذنه أن يرجع الناس. Even Usama himself was appointed by Prophet Muhammad sent to Abu Bakr. Ya Abu Bakr, do you allow me, ya Khalifat Rasulullah, to come back and to bring with me, because everyone was afraid that Al-Madinah will be attacked. قال وقال إن معي وجوه المسلمين وجلتهم ولا آمنوا على خليفة رسول الله وحرم رسول الله والمسلمين أن يتخطفهم المشركون. Usama, the leader of the army, said, Ya Abu Bakr, I'm so afraid that the polytheists around you will attack you. قال وحرم رسول الله زوجات النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. He was afraid because it's not easy. طبعا أبو بكر insisted. He refused completely all their pleas. لكن أبو بكر خالف وأصر أن تستمر الحملة العسكرية في تحركها إلى الشام مهما كانت الظروف والأحوال والنتائج. ولم يسترح أسامة وهيئة أركان حرب لإصرار الخليفة وبذلوا لدى عدة محاولات. Now, instead of reading, I will give you the خلاصة. Back and forth, he insisted. They insisted. He insisted. They insisted. And then a group of them came and had a discussion. He listened to them. They told, Ya Abu Khalifa, the majority, they will attack. You have no army to defend you, and it does not make any sense. Then he insisted that whatever it must be, I will not break. I will not, let's say, cancel something was launched by Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whatever you do. Some of the narrations, قال والله لو سارت الكلاب بأرجل أمهات المسلمين في أزقة المدينة. I will not stop from sending. This is like a very strong metaphor. He said, if we reach the point that we were attacked and we were killed to a degree that the dead bodies of the wives of Prophet Muhammad was laid in the streets, and the dogs came and ate their bodies, and a dog will take the leg of one of the mothers of the Muslimin and pull the leg of the dead body in the street of the Medina. I will not stop from sending the army. This is like, don't waste your time, because Prophet Muhammad is the one who decided, I will go ahead. Now at the end, when he explained to them why he's insisting that I will not cancel something Prophet Muhammad ﷺ initiated. This is the idea, which means he did not give us even an indication, just we have the right to do it, so I will do it. Subhanallah, what happened after that? Look what happened. The most important thing that I will finish inshallah. Next time we will continue the lessons from this. But the biggest lesson, he sent him for 40 days. The Romans, they were planning to attack Al-Medina. It happened because, you know, news, people cannot send the news just by day and night. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ passed away and the army left 3 days later. So Heraclius, he received the news of the death of Muhammad ﷺ with the coming of the army in the same time. So he was told that their prophet passed away, but there's an army with thousands attacking us. What? Then immediately they cancelled completely the campaign to attack Muslims at Medina, because look what was the image, that no one was aware except Abu Bakr. He said, if even after the passing of their leaders, still they have the power or enough power to attack the biggest army on earth, they are not an easy people. Which means definitely they have very strong support system and power. They stopped completely from attacking them. So by this they were able not to let Romans or Persians or anyone from outsiders to think about attacking Muslims, and they had the full space and time to do what? To fight the Arab apostates, Murtaddin. By this, because imagine at that time, if Romans continued their launching, maybe 200,000, 100,000, with tens of thousands of Arabs, what will happen? So it was, subhanallah, Abu Bakr was guided by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by insisting on this, radiallahu anhu. We'll stop by this, we'll take some lessons next time, and we'll continue what happened after Jaysh Usama, because I promise not to speak more than, inshallah, 45 to 50 minutes. So now it's exactly, I think, 50 minutes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair. Tomorrow see you and continuing chapter Al-Imran, inshallah, in the tafsir between Maghrib and Isha. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.